The headlines have a cumulative weight that is hard to account for. It is not one story or one crisis that breaks you. It is the relentlessness of it, the sense that the ground that used to feel stable has developed a permanent tremor. That certainty has become a thing of the past, and the only reasonable posture is to brace for whatever comes next. Economic forecasts that contradict each other, political divisions that have moved past disagreement into something that feels like fracture. Institutions that used to feel solid showing cracks. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, you are trying to live your ordinary life, raise your children, make decisions that require assuming some kind of stable future, and the ground keeps moving under the plan. The anxiety this produces is not irrational. It is the appropriate response of a finite person trying to carry the weight of an uncertain world. But anxiety was not designed to be load-bearing. It is a signal that you are carrying something you were not built to carry, pressing against a horizon you cannot see past, trying to control outcomes that are far outside the range of your actual influence. The solution is not willpower, and it is not optimism. It is an anchor, something fixed and immovable that holds you in place when everything else is shifting. Jesus says something in Matthew 24 that lands differently when the world is shaking. He has just described the collapse of things, wars, famines, persecution, the falling away of many, and then he says, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away." This is not comfort through denial. He is not saying the things you are afraid of won't happen. He is saying that what he has spoken, the promises, the character, the kingdom he is building, has a permanence that the visible world does not. Everything that can shake will shake, but his word will not. Hebrews 12 puts the cosmic picture together. The author quotes Haggai, "Yet once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens." And then he explains what the shaking is for. The removal of things that can be shaken, that is, things that have been made, in order that the things that cannot be shaken may remain. The shaking is not chaos. It is clarification, the removal of what was always temporary so that what is genuinely permanent becomes visible. And what remains is a kingdom that cannot be shaken, which is what you belong to and what you are being offered as a place to stand. Peter writes to people living through exactly the kind of instability that produces fear. And he grounds them in a contrast that cuts through the noise. All flesh is like grass, and all its glory like the flower of grass. The grass withers and the flower falls, but the word of the Lord remains forever. 1 Peter 1:24-25. The things with the loudest voice are often the most temporary. What endures, the promises of God, the character of God, the kingdom of God, tends to be quieter than the headlines, steadier than the news cycle, slower to make itself felt, but impossible to uproot when you are actually anchored to it. Here is what this looks like in a real week. Limit the time you spend in inputs designed to produce anxiety, not because the world isn't real, but because chronic exposure to chaos is not the same as faithful engagement with it. Choose a specific promise, a verse, a line from Hebrews 12 or Isaiah 41, and return to it when the news cycle starts doing its work on you. Not as a charm against difficulty, but as a reminder of what is actually load-bearing in your life. And invest your energy in what you can actually influence rather than rehearsing outcomes you cannot control. The grace in the shaking is that it reveals what was always true. Only the unshakable kingdom was ever really solid. The things that feel like losses in the shaking were always temporary, and what they are making room for is permanent. You were never meant to be anchored to the things that move. You were meant to be anchored to the one who doesn't. The headlines are loud because they are temporary. God's promises are quiet because they are eternal. When everything keeps changing, anchor yourself in the one thing that won't.